Happy Mother's Day, everyone out there in internet land, especially in Presque Isle. Um, Let me give you our text so you can turn there while we make some announcements and do prayer requests. First of all, if you will turn to 1 Samuel chapter 1, verses 24 through 28. 1 Samuel 1, verses 24 through 28. And then keep in prayer Miss Hardy. This has been a prayer request that Sister Elaine has been having us pray for the last couple of weeks. Pray for, God to touch her body. Continue to pray for Leroy. He's supposed to have a procedure coming up, but it's a little ways out, and it's a long time to wait when you're in pain. Praise report. Sister Carrie did sell her house. They close tomorrow. However, it's kind of the very official, final end of a chapter of her life. So it's a little bit, also, even though she's going to be free of that financial burden and even, be able to have some money to put in her account, she's also, it's kind of sad. She and Mark lived a long time in that house together, and now she's saying goodbye to all that. So let's pray for her because, she's also having a tough time. Pray for Jed. Jed has severely damaged his knee. He fell, cleaning the truck or something. I think he was cleaning the truck. That's what he said he was doing. But he fell and tore ligaments and stuff, and he's going to have surgery. So pray for Jed. Continue to pray for Jordan, and he does well in the job. He's making some good money on that job. Just pray that he does well. This is his first week that he was out on his own with one of the trucks, going and tending to clients' yards. So pray for Jordan that he does well and he falls into. It seems like a good company if he'll just settle in there and work. He's making decent money. He's working long hours to do it because they only pay $15 an hour, but they're working like 50 hours a week. And he said soon for a few weeks during the summer they'll work 60. So, but I think this last week he made like $800 or something, which is for a young single guy. That's good money. Hard work, but good money. So pray for him. I guess another praise report. My back's still doing great. Physical therapy has, really helped with that. Got to keep doing it though. But anyway, having a good time down here with my family and my mom and my grandma. So pray for us and Sister Scott on our way back. We'll be coming back this afternoon, Sunday afternoon, leaving here, which means we'll get back tonight sometime. So that's all the prayer requests. One small plan. Remember, we're going to do the church picnic, and we're going to be doing it in July. And I'm going to propose a time. If this time doesn't work, just we can talk about it, and that's okay. But I'm going to propose that we could do it like on the either Saturday the 10th or maybe the 11th. If we wanted to do it like on a Sunday, have our service, and then we could have dinner out back. Or if you guys would rather just have a Saturday and then a regular Sunday routine, that's fine too. But just look at the 10th and 11th. I think that would work. Let me double check something else just before I go committing. I got to make sure that I got to check a totally different calendar besides just a plain calendar, because of course the two don't have the dates on both of them, so I got to look at different places. But give me just a second here. Okay, the 10th will not work. We could do it on the 11th, but the 10th would not work. So tell you what. So yeah, 8th, 10th, 16th. Get back to the other calendar real quick. Sorry, guys. The 17th would work as well. So we could do the 10th if we're going to do, the 11th if we're going to do a Sunday. We could do the 17th if we were going to do a Saturday. So that's just talk about that, and you guys see what looks good for your calendars. Okay, let's go to our text. Um, 1 Samuel 1, verses 24 through 28 says, "And when she had weaned him, she took him up with her, along with a 3-year-old bull, an ephah of flour, and a skin of wine. And she brought him to the house of the Lord at Shiloh, and the child was young. Then they slaughtered the bull, and they brought the child to Eli. And she said, Oh, my Lord, as you live, my Lord, I am the woman who was standing here in your presence praying to the Lord. For this child I prayed, and the Lord has granted me my petition that I made to him. Therefore I have lent him to the Lord. As long as he lives, he is lent to the Lord. And he worshiped the Lord there." I want to preach to you or teach you this Sunday afternoon um, from the title, The Strength of Mothers. The Strength of Mothers. Let's pray over the sermon and also pray for the prayer requests. Lord, we love you today. We ask you right now in the name of Jesus to put your hand on Miss Hardy, touch her body. We ask you also, Lord, to bless Elaine and Teresa's finances, provide for them. Touch Adam, let his back feel better. Touch Leroy, let his legs, minimize the pain until he can get them taken care of, or heal them, Lord, and heal his back. God, we ask you also to put your hand on Sister Carrie today. We're glad that you've blessed her with a buyer for the house, but also, God, touch her heart, lift her spirits, and let her find comfort and solace in you as she says goodbye to what, was a bunch of fond memories and a place where, she had a lot of good years. Put your hand on Jed today. We ask you to heal his knee, help that to be fixed, God, and to get better, God. Put your hand on Jordan, help him, Lord, to settle in, have a good, and learn how to value that job and work hard at it and do well. Put your hand on our country, help us to finally beat back this disease that has attacked us, Lord. It's, the recovery rate is stalling a little bit because we still have a significant portion of the population who have bought into conspiracy theories and aren't getting the vaccination, God. And we just ask you, God, to help us, Lord, God, and help them to remember the lessons that the country learned back in the 50s with polio when everyone got vaccinated, how well that went. We ask you, Lord, to do your work, convince us to work together so we can beat this thing. In Jesus' name, amen. And bless the sermon, God. The strength of mothers. The strength of mothers. When we talk about parents, and we think about parents and we talk about being strong, generally speaking, people go to talking about dads, right? Because the men are the defenders and they're the big, muscly, one of the parents normally, right? They're the ones who know how to, chop wood and work out in the yard and lift and pick up things and move furniture and all the big heavy stuff, right? So we think of strength in parents together. We normally will talk about dads. In fact, I think, the kind of cliche, stereotypical thing that we think of little kids when they're bragging when they're little, one of the classics that we imagine one little boy saying to the other is, "My dad's stronger than your dad," right? But today's lesson, as is fit for Mother's Day, is about the strength of mothers. And I would say to you that while it's impressive and handy to have the power to lift the end of a sleeper sofa, real strength, long-lasting strength, the strength to hold families together, that's more impressive than the strength it takes to move a couch. And that strength, that long, enduring, determined strength, frankly, is more of a mother's strength than it is a dad's. Let's think about Mary, for instance, the strength of Mary. First of all, she had to bear up underneath what was a very questionable, scandalous situation when the Lord chose her. Virgin birth, well, we know what everyone else, thought. In fact, Joseph even was thinking probably that, there'd been some unfaithfulness or something there because he considered putting her away quietly. privily. The new King, or the King James says he considered putting her away privily, because you know he didn't believe that you know somehow the Holy Ghost had planted Jesus in her womb, and God had to come talk to him and say, hey, right, send an angel to talk to him. So think about that. Think about this young woman, this brand new mom, carrying a life in her womb, and she has to deal with the talk and what everybody has to say. Meanwhile, she's got to figure out how she's going to survive. Because let's face it, if Joseph reacted that way when she first told him, chances are there was a period of time when she wasn't sure if he was going to marry her or not. Right? I mean, he evidently didn't believe her. So when he left that meeting, I'm sure she realized he doesn't buy it. So all of a sudden, here's this young, potentially going to be a single mom, going to have to raise a baby in a town and place where that was even more scandalous than it has been considered in America, in American history. So, man, that takes strength. That takes real strength to even know how you're going to pull it off. But she had to start thinking of how she and her baby were going to survive. By the way, just in case you know any single moms out there, and especially if they're single moms and they're working and they're providing and getting their kids to school, those women deserve respect. They deserve respect. They're doing a Herculean thing. It's hard to be a parent by yourself, and whether it happened because the other parent left, or the other parent died, or the other parent didn't stick around to begin with after the pregnancy was known. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, that's work. That's hard work. It takes a strong person to pull that off. And most of the time, the single parent's usually a mom, right? So don't disparage them, support them, help them. Then if we look later in Mary, in Jesus' life, which would be later Mary's life too, obviously, and we start reading about his ministry, we start hearing about his brothers and sisters and his mom. In fact, Mary winds up being among the 120 in the upper room in the book of Acts and praying through. So she sticks with him through his whole life, his whole ministry. She's at the cross weeping at his feet while he's dying. She's with him after the resurrection, and she stays with him in spirit form even after that. That's the strength of a mom. Despite she didn't understand it all the time. When he's left at the temple back there at 12 years old, she's like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be with us. She didn't understand what his true calling was. She was mom. He was son. He was the child. Even after, you know how it is, even after our children grow up, they're still kind of our baby. So here he is. He's trying to conduct his ministry. And she and his brothers and sisters come out and say, what are you doing? You're creating a star. You just need to come home. So she didn't always get it. And he rebuffed her. On both of those incidents, he rebuffed her. And yet the strength of a mom would not let that go to heart. She didn't let that turn into a grudge. She did, because she's a mom, and her dedication to her child is greater than her own sense of grievance or hurt feelings. The love for her child was more powerful than her own sense of offense, which I've seen moms like that. They can take a lot off their kids and yet somehow keep loving them. That's the strength of a mom. And by the way, where is Joseph? We don't see Joseph past the time of Jesus' birth. Oh, well, when he's 12, we get the sense that he's there for that trip. But after that, where is he? I don't read about him whenever Jesus is an adult teaching in his ministry. He's nowhere around Calvary when Jesus was crucified. I don't see him in the Acts. He's gone. Chances are, here's the thing, it's still a reality today. Men die younger than women. And in the past, whenever medical science wasn't what it was and life itself was a lot harder because of the lack of technology, they died even younger. I mean, it was, common for men to die around 30 years old if you go back centuries. 30, you push past 30. And that, that's another reason why elderly men and elders in general were so prized, because they were rare. There weren't as many around. Men die younger. And, I can't help but wonder, and men die younger today too, even with all that, right? We still see women living longer. And that's because men just naturally don't have the staying power of a mom. Could it be that this is, designed that way? Because maybe, God, someone up there realized that if the family's going to hold together, it's not going to be that grandfather that's going to do it. He's going to be cranky and wanting to watch his tube or work putter out in the shop. It's going to be that mom. It's going to be that grandmother, because there's a certain kind of strength that only mothers have. Turn to 2 Samuel chapter 21. Here's a different mother who shows her dedication and strength to her family in a very different way and in a very horrible situation. 2 Samuel 21:10 says, Now Rizpah, the daughter of Ai, took sackcloth and spread it for herself on the rock from the beginning of harvest until the late rains poured on them from heaven. And she did not allow the birds of the air to rest on them by day, nor the beasts of the field by night. Now, them at the end of the verse refers to her two sons. Her two sons have been hanged. They are dead. And this is the story of when David came to power, how at the behest of several aggrieved parties who had been wronged by Saul and Saul's family, David allowed them for all the killing and murder that Saul had perpetuated on them. And this would be, I believe, the Gibeonites, who they had a pact with Israel. They were considered, basically a puppet state or a subject state of Israel. They served the Israelites. And yet, for whatever reason, Saul slaughtered a lot of them. So for recompense, David let them take some of Saul's offspring, his sons, and they hanged them to avenge the murders that Saul had perpetuated on them. Well, Rizpah was one of Saul's concubines. So she's the mom of two of these young men that the Gibeonites killed for vengeance. And the story goes that when this happened, they're hanged, they're out there, on a hillside or a mountainside somewhere. And she, as a mom, is so devastated by the death of her sons. And further, she's devastated by how they're being treated after death, how they aren't being, treated with dignity. They're not being given, real funeral rites or burial or respect, but they're just being left out there hanging on the hillside for the elements to do what the elements do to exposed dead bodies. And so she camps out. She gets sackcloth, spreads it for her, which is the garment or the cloth used to show you're in mourning and travail and you have intercessory prayer. And she stays out there, and she will not let the birds of prey, the vultures and the ravens and the crows near them. She stays out there, won't let the beasts, the wolves and jackals and other animals of the night anywhere near them. And she stays out there and won't leave and let these animals near them, which means the whole time she's protecting their bodies, she's also having to witness the decay and the horror that they become as they disintegrate in the weather. I don't know. Couldn't do it. I don't know. But that's the strength of a mother. That's dedication. Despite the horror, she's committed. Now what happens is because of her commitment, because she won't leave them on the hillside and just go home and weep by herself and mourn by herself, but she keeps staying out there, the story starts getting around. It starts being known what she's doing. And the tragedy of it hits everyone. How horrific the situation is hits everyone. It hits David. it hits the kingdom, because everybody else is trying to go about their business. They would have, like, life would have just moved on. People would have just kind of walked around and not gone near that hillside for a long time. And the life would have moved on, they would have forgotten, because, yeah, it's not their sons. But Rizpah's actions wouldn't let them forget how they were treating some other human beings, despite whatever happened beforehand with Saul. They were treating other human beings this way, and she refused to leave. And the Bible says she was there so long that when David, by the way, we're going to see in a minute that by inference, that even the Gibeonites, suddenly their hearts were melted within them. Because here's what happened. When the story gets around that she had been there so long defending these boys' bodies from the beasts and the birds of prey, they go and collect them and give them a proper burial. By the time this happens, this is how long she had to be there. There was nothing but bones left. We're talking months. Months. And according to the story, at the end of the story, when this happened, they went and took these sons of Saul down, their bones down, and they gave them a proper burial, all the rites that go along with it, the respect and the mourning that go along with it. When this happened, all the rifts, the animosities, and the feuds of the land, it says the land was healed. And that tells us that this grudge, this grievance, this animosity that the Gibeonites, this hate and anger at the way their own people were treated, that in this moment of this mother's dedication, it changed all their hearts and minds, and they realized how they too had kind of become monsters. And all of a sudden, there was forgiveness, there was regret, there was apologies, people's hearts melted. And the mother's strength of a mother in a horrific situation, turned a whole nation around. Because we know how rifts can go. We know how animosities can go. We've had years of it here in our own country of these two sides, right? And those things can keep just percolating. And sometimes it seems like it doesn't matter how horrific it can become on either side. No horror seems to be able to melt the hearts of the sides, and more atrocities keep stacking up, because we can be stubborn, and we can hold grudges, and we can be vindictive. Humans are capable of some horrible stuff. So we know how hard it can be. Now think about it if we had experienced the kind of atrocities that went on in the ancient world. And yet a mother's strength, her strong, undeniable love, not only got respect and decency back for her sons, at least in death, but it turned the whole nation around. So now my text was about Hannah. And I've talked a lot about Mary, and I've talked now about Rizpah. So what about Hannah? You know, my lesson on the strength of mothers was coming from this text, and I haven't even mentioned her. Well, if we think about the story of Hannah, a lot is said about, how deeply she longed for a child, how she would stay in the temple long, praying in such travail that she couldn't even utter words. And this deep mourning of being childless, and until God finally answered her request and gave her a baby boy, Samuel. And for sure, that is definitely a testimony to a mother's strength. A lot is also said about how after she has the baby and after he's weaned, in fact, our verse actually covers this at the end of the story too, how after weaned him, which means she had him for several months, loving him, nursing him, bonding with him, becoming close to him, just enjoying all the beauty and love that a mother and baby can share. Yet, because she made a pledge and a promise when he was weaned, she gave him to the Lord. And we know that strong sacrifice led to the rise of what would be one of the greatest prophets of Israel, Samuel, who was also the one who anointed the first three kings of Israel. He anointed Saul, he anointed David, he anointed Solomon. So this is, I may be wrong about Solomon. Prophet did anoint Solomon, but I can't remember if Samuel now or not. But he did anoint David and Saul for sure. That sacrifice. Here we, by the way, again, this is another example of a mother's love helping to found something that turned the nation around. Later it'd be Rizpah, right? And there's no doubt that the end of the story, this sacrifice of giving her son to the Lord, that's definitely a testimony to the strength of mothers. But I want to draw your attention to another part of verse 24 that we don't really talk about in the middle. That is clearly evidence of strength, but it's possibly the kind of strength we would normally attribute to a man, and yet here's this mom who pulls it off. Verse 24 says, and when she had weaned him, she took him up with her, along with a 3-year-old bull, an ephah of flour, and a skin of wine, and she brought him to the house of the Lord at Shiloh, and the child was young. So the child was young, but we know he was weaned, so he was no longer just, a baby you hold anymore. He was at least a toddler. She goes on a trip across country. It says, and when she had weaned him, she took him. In fact, there's another verse whenever she was telling her husband what she intended to do with him, where he says, do whatever you want. So she's the one who's taking this trip. She's taking a trip across country on foot with a toddler. She doesn't have a Subaru Outback in a car seat to put him in. She's got to make this trip on foot across country. Nowadays, going to the grocery store with a toddler takes strength, right? Well, imagine walking across country for miles and miles with a toddler. And after a while, at first, the toddler's got all the energy in the world, and it's all you can do to keep him with you. But after a while, he's going to be tired, and he's going to need someone to hold him. She's a strong woman. What about this? In addition to having to deal with a toddler, she's also carrying a measure, an ephah of flour, and a skin, a wineskin, a whole wineskin. That's heavy. There's, a wineskin, I think they were usually, I imagine them being roughly about a gallon or so at least. I mean, there's a lot of weight there. She's dealing with a toddler. She's trying to keep this flour. She's trying to hold the wineskin. Again, this woman has some true strength. Hannah was impressive. So, but there's one more thing that stuck out to me. While dealing with a toddler and carrying an ephah of flour and carrying a whole skin of wine, she also had to maintain control of a 3-year-old bull. Now, when we hear 3-year-old, we think young. We think in human terms, again, we would think toddler. That's probably about how old maybe Samuel was 3 years old. So he and the bull were probably born about the same time. But bovines don't grow at the same rate that humans do. I'm going to show you a picture right now of what a 3-year-old bull looks like. You ready? Look at this. That is a 3-year-old bull. That's another way of saying that is a full-grown bull. That's right. Bulls reach full physical size by 2 years old. And this is an Angus bull. Now, let me stop sharing my screen now that you've seen the bull. If you know anything about bulls, because he was still a young bull, 3 years old, he's still very much in his prime. They're, a couple of tons of weight there, possibly. In the thousands. They're huge. They can be a little rambunctious because they're bulls, which means they can be destructive. They're known to break down fences. They love to butt the nearest unlucky animal they can when they're really feeling high on the, feeling their oats. Any horses standing by, have to get away. A couple of tons of muscle and vitality. They are immensely strong beasts. And yet, they're no match for this mother. Here's this bull, full grown, and this mother with a toddler, with an eva of flour, with a whole skin of wine, has got this big ornery bull on the rope, and she pulls him all the way to the temple. And at the end of it, he's sacrificed as a celebration of her devoting Samuel to the Lord, whether he wanted to be or not. Moms are strong, especially when it comes to their kids. And if there's anything that defines our little group of people in Presque Isle, it's strong mothers. Oh my goodness. We have some amazing mothers. And just like I said, it takes a special kind of strength to hold families together. That's exactly what you guys do. Sister Elaine, Sister Teresa, Sister Barb, my wife, you guys, you always have been the glue. You're the one who's, let's face it, if it was up to us guys, we'd rub our kids the wrong way and they get mad at us, we get mad at them, and it'd be months before we probably even willing to talk to each other again. We'd get busy doing our own thing and forget and not pay attention and think about the relationship at all. It's you guys that keep us connected and grounded to what matters. And so on this Mother's Day, I just want to salute you and tell you, if you've ever been made to feel weak and insignificant, that is just a lie. You are not weak and insignificant. You are the glue that holds the rest of us together. And I love you, and you deserve all of the honor that can be bestowed in this life. And be blessed. Enjoy your kids, which in a very real way, that strength is the fruit of your work. These moments you have with your kids and grandkids today, it's because a strong mom gave them a warm, safe place to belong. So hats off to you. I love you. We will see you next Sunday. Have a wonderful day.